All right, welcome back to the Dirt Beers podcast. This is episode 18, brought to you by
our friends at Dig Race Products since 2016. Dig Race Products has had a sole focus on Northeast dirt modified shocks and suspension tuning. Located centrally in New York, Dig is the industry leader in at-track shock and setup support. This hands-on at-the-track approach is what leads the design and development in delivering the highest quality shock absorbers to the dirt oval track market. Take your program to the next level and feel the difference on Dig. Visit digraceproducts.com for more information. Beef, what else do we got?
We got a new sponsor this week. New sponsor coming on board, Tom from Inland Rigging. We're very appreciative of Tom, but Inland Rigging is a machinery moving and warehousing company based out of Southern California, offering local, domestic, and international moving services. Whether you have one piece of equipment or a complete factory to move, Inland Rigging has you covered. With a deep family history in a business dating back to 1904, Inland Rigging continues the same family values and has made Inland Rigging the right choice for so many years. Thanks to Tom and everybody at Inland Rigging. We're excited to have them on now. We got two sponsors for the podcast, so that's exciting. But this week, we got our guest segment. We got Hunter Jordan, field reporter for the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series, big late model guy. As two guys that are not huge late model guys, I'm very interested to talk some late models, and we'll see what happens. But first, we do have a tradition on this show. We start the episode with a beer crack. I know, Hunter, obviously you're not old enough, so you can't participate in this, but Jonathan?
I'm going with the waters because if I have a beer now, I'm going to lose my voice again after I lost it on the weekend.
Jonathan is still under the weather a little bit, so he's gonna hold off. But I'll drink a Bud Light for everybody.
The Shane Gillis special.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I don't have as many on the table here, but that's okay. That's okay. Hunter, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we always like to start out with, the basic questions. How old are you and where are you from?
19 years old, originally from Corey, Pennsylvania, and moved to Milton, Florida about 3 months ago.
Now, that's got to be a nice little transition from Pennsylvania to the lovely sunshine and mostly nice weather of Milton, Florida, I'm sure. Talk about that move and what gave you the confidence to make that move at this point in your life and in your career.
I got offered this gig in like late 2024, and then it was just kind of a no-brainer decision. Like, I really didn't have anything else keeping me up north, and to take this job with Hunt the Front, it really wasn't an option. Like, it was like, hey, you either gotta move down south, or it's not gonna work with them being southern based. So I really didn't have a choice, and I knew I had to take that job. It was the best opportunity for me, so it's just kind of a no-brainer. But it's been an adjustment in good ways and bad ways. Being a 19-year-old kid living 18 hours from home is not easy by any means, but luckily it's been really good so far.
So you're an infield reporter, I guess would be your job title, right, for the Hunt the Front series. Mm-hmm. Did you go to school or anything past high school for being like in media or anything like that?
No, it's pretty much just experience. I don't have a day of college under my belt. I've been doing this since I was 14, so I've just kind of just built up experience as I went.
So you mentioned not going to school. What was your introduction into getting behind the mic then, and where did your first opportunities come? And what was it always late model racing that you found yourself behind the mic for?
Yeah, it's always been late model racing. In my start, I would not be where I am today. I would not have this job. I would not be sitting on this podcast right now if it wasn't for Rick Eshelman, the late voice of the World of Outlaws. He really took me under his wing, was a mentor, was like a father figure to me. I introduced myself to him at the 2020 Firecracker 100, and I just asked him for advice, and he gave me his card and said, stay in contact. I'll get you in the booth. So I did a World of Outlaw race with him. I called it B Main and a couple laps of the feature with him. World of Outlaw race at Erie's back in 2020. And then just kind of went from there. Did a couple of shows sprinkled here and there, just like sitting, learning with him. And then he got me my first full-time gig in 2021 at Thunder Mountain Speedway in Brookville, PA.
Okay. So, you just said you just moved to Milton. You just started up with the Hunt the Front series. how did that come about? Who was the one that sent you the message like, "Hey, we want you for our series"?
That was all Travis Scott. I always say Travis Scott, not the rapper, because you have to.
Yeah.
But that was all him. He texted me at the end of 2023, actually, which I was still in high school. So like, there's no way I could move from PA to Florida while I'm still in high school. So we talked a little bit then, and then really everything just kind of went onto the back burner. Like, it wasn't really any talk for a while, and then it was in like August of 2024 that talks really started again between him and I. I did a race for them at Lake Cumberland there in Burnside, Kentucky, and then once again that was just kind of a one-off deal. No real talks came from it after that for a little while. And then it was as I was with XR at the end of last year. I did Pennsboro, East Alabama, and Vegas for them. That was when talks really, really picked up again, and when it got really serious this time.
So what do you think it was about your resume or your technique, or was there a particular skill set that kind of jumped out that made you a great candidate for something like this?
I really don't know. I ask myself every day why they picked me. Because I honestly still just kind of view myself as just a small town, no name PA kid. So that is a great question, but there must have been something that impressed them.
So, have you always been like? I know you call a lot of late model racing. Have you always been a late model guy, or were you ever into the wing sprint cars, non-wing sprint cars, UMP mods?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm from PA, so obviously, like, I do like sprint cars.
Yeah.
But it's always been late models for me. I was born into a late model family. Chubb Frank and Boom Briggs are very close relatives of mine. I was actually just at Chubb's shop today. So right there, my dad raced late models. Like, I've worked on late models and just been around it my whole life. But then I've also done a lot of UMP modified stuff too. That's a big deal around my area.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I worked for the ULMS series, there's also the modified series, the UEMS series. So I did that too for a whole year covering mods. So we've had a little sprinkled in there outside of late model racing, but it's mostly just been late model racing.
So we mentioned the move down to Florida and, really joining the Hunt the Front program. What does a typical race week look like so far? I mean, obviously, you probably haven't gotten a chance to fully immerse yourself and get that full routine set up, but what does it look like for you right now in terms of your program and how you choose to operate?
Usually Monday of race week, that's when I'll start my preparation. I'll, try to find information on the track, past winners with the series, whether it's the first visit with the series at this speedway, drivers that have been good there. And then throughout the week, work on getting an entry list, confirmed, and get sponsor sheets and accomplishment sheets and everything made up for the drivers, which now that the season's rolling, it's really not as hard on the driver's side, just because I know we have our series regulars.
Yeah.
Those guys are already good to go. I just have a handful of guys that I got to worry about getting. But I start Monday, work like all week on that. And then I also work in the office at Hunt the Front. So all week long, like, I got work to do for them, whether it's like social media stuff, whether it's podcast stuff, whether it's writing up an article or something. So I stay pretty busy.
Nice. So I want to know, you say you were born into a late model family and a racing family. Was there ever a desire for you to get behind the wheel? Did you ever race a car, race karts, or anything like that?
I've had taste of it. Yeah, I would never have called myself a race car driver, but there's definitely been a couple times that the opportunity was there. And my dad always tells me all the time that you made a right decision going into that side of the business and not wanting to race like the rest of the family. Because he was saying, he was like, you're just gonna spend a whole lot of money on that side. So there's definitely been the opportunities, and I've hardcore been on the crew guy side of the sport for a while, since really I don't even know how long. So Yeah, it's definitely, I've been on the competition side.
I want to go back to something you said, the second previous question from now, which was your prep. What does that look like, and what prep do you find gets the most, I guess, fan feedback or driver feedback, appreciation that you brought that stat or that story to light? What is it that is most appreciated for anybody who's an announcer, like myself or anybody else that's listening? That it can be so easy to get wrapped up on, oh well, it's this driver's daughter's dog's cousin's birthday, so I'm going to write that
Yeah.
down as a note, as opposed to, oh no, this car's got a new sponsor, whatever. What do you find is the most important information to try to bring to a broadcast?
Making sure that you got like the right sponsors and not something that a guy had on a car a year ago. And then you bring that up, like make sure, being up to date. I've had that happen to me before in past years where you get a little lazy with it, and what you had before, you just keep on there and make a little couple tweaks if you see something different. So really taking pride in that, and then deep diving, trying to find some accomplishments and maybe a couple of good little storylines and stuff like that. But sponsors are a big thing. Like even our series regulars, after getting my notes done, I'll go to the track and scope out the car and see if there's anybody new on there or anybody taken off. Because I have messed up in the past, like years prior, and been not confronted about it, but just like told that, like, hey, they're not with us anymore. And that's a little embarrassing. So got to make sure I always try to stay up to date.
Nice. Take us through, you get to the track on a race week or any night. What does your night look like from the time you walk through the pit gate to the time you walk back out?
So the first thing I'll do is I'll make a lap around pits. And then that first lap, it's pretty much, I'm not looking for a storyline or looking for notes that first go around. It's just talking to the guys. Because one thing that I've quickly come to realize is if you can become friends with these guys, it's gonna be a lot easier to get information than just walking up. They have no idea who you are, and just like, give me information. Tell me your sponsors. Tell me this and that. Tell me your whole life story. So I try to make like a personal connection, introduce myself to a lot of the guys, and then usually I'll have some sort of meeting, whether it's with series officials, whether it's with Hunt the Front TV production staff. So I'll go to one of either the production trailer or the series trailer and just talk things over, see what's going on, hang out for a little bit, and then go back out. I usually try to make 3 or 4 rounds around the pits to make sure I can get everything that I need for the night. But a lot of it besides that is just kind of bullshitting with people, hanging out and meetings. We'll have a full-on officials meeting in the series trailer, and then we don't really have like a production meeting, you'd call it, for Hunt the Front TV, but we definitely will sit down and talk about things in the production trailer.
Nice.
So you've talked about having your chance to thrash on race cars. Obviously, now working on the media side of things, you're at the racetrack regularly. Have you developed any race day superstitions that you've either got from being around race cars and working on the race cars that you now bring to the TV side? What's the race day superstitions like for you, Hunter?
Ooh, race day superstition. Man, does taking a nap every race day count?
I'll count it.
Yeah.
Can confirm. I do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. You're hooked up with the Hunt the Front guys. Obviously, Hunt the Front, one of, if not the biggest dirt racing YouTube channel, I would say. Maybe Team is about on the same level. But what's it like working with those guys? You watch them on the computer on YouTube. I do it all the time. I watch every video. But to actually physically work for these guys, what's that like?
Silly.
Yeah.
A whole lot of silliness, as Turbo always likes to say. They're a good group of guys. They're really cool. Really, once you can get past the, internet superstars type thing, like they're just average, everyday dudes. Super, super great guys to hang out with and work for. Very easy to work for. They're they're understanding. They obviously they know the business better than anybody. So it's really easy to do my own thing too. They're pretty lenient with letting me do my work my way, which is very, very cool because like I get very sidetracked very easily, like working in the office. So like if I'm struggling with something in the office and like I want to go home and finish it, they're fine with that. And besides the work, like they're honestly just a good time to hang out with. They're really good people.
Well, Beef, I think we got to put them on the clock. I think it's time
I think
we
it's
go ahead
time.
and rip the top.
I think it's time to rip the top. Now, Hunter, you did say you've watched some episodes, so I think you know how this works. And we got 4 rapid fire questions. I'm going to time you. You're trying to set the quick time, which is still Ava Payton at an 18-second flat. Now that I know you have watched it, do you have answers prepared?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we better get this quick before you think about it.
Yeah, we're going to try as we go. I'm not even going to think.
No? Okay.
I think that's the key. I think it really is like just instant response. You can't, the minute you utter an or an you're done.
Yeah, I feel like that's always the killer. But okay, so I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1. Start giving you the questions. As soon as you answer, I'm gonna go to the next one. Alright? Okay, you ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Favorite beer or drink?
Red Bull.
Favorite truck stop, snack, and drink combo?
Beef jerky and vitamin water.
Top 3 pizza toppings?
Pepperoni, bacon, sausage.
Favorite wing flavor?
Honey mustard.
Oh, I don't like that sound, Beef. What does that mean?
You're 3/10 off. 18-3.
Oh, come
wow.
on.
It was close. It was so close.
Oh, we haven't had someone get that close in a hot minute. That was
you
nice.
are second on the leaderboard. That is the closest
All right.
we've had.
Second, not bad.
Yeah, second place. So close.
Dang.
I mean, you can bring that down to me just clicking the button, honestly. But gotta go with what the timer says.
Yeah, we gotta. Yep.
So Ava still reigns supreme, but that's a close second. Let me tell you.
I can't wait till we put Beef on like a reaction timer kind of test or something like that, and he's just gonna have terrible reaction time, and then we're gonna realize we've screwed so many guests out of solid quick times.
I felt quick.
That was quick. It was quick.
Yeah,
Hey, P2 is nothing to
entering the corners.
Yeah. Hey, P2 is nothing to cry over. I like that. P2 is more than enough.
That's pole of a heat race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Speaking of polls and heat races, what about 2025? What are the goals for you now joining Hunt the Front?
Mm-hmm.
What do you look forward to? What do you want to accomplish in this year that would make you look back on 2025 and be like, all right, that was a really successful year?
I want to build up on my skills as a pit reporter. I'm not really new to announcing and stuff as it is, compared to a lot of guys that are in the business and stuff like that. I am, but pit reporting I am very new to. This is kind of a new animal for me. The first race that I ever pit reported was August of last year with Hunt the Front. So I'd really like to really perfect my craft there, while also getting better in the booth with the Southern Thunder Series, which my next event is with the Southern Thunder Super Dirt Series. Watch it, Hunt the Front TV. Had to give a little plug there.
There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, perfect my craft as a pit reporter.
Okay. So, speaking of the 2025 season, what's some races or a race that you got circled on the calendar that you are pumped to be at?
Our weekend with the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series in Kentucky. We go to Kentucky June 27th and 28th. Night 1 at Lake Cumberland and night 2 at Florence. Okay. Those are 2 places that I love and I'm very excited to go to, and that is the closest that I come to home for work all year long. So it's going to be like a Jordan family reunion.
Nice.
I already know there's going to be grandparents, parents, siblings, friends, everybody there. So I'm pumped, and it's Florence. Florence is a badass racetrack, late model racing. So definitely that weekend, but also like 2 events that I'm not working, but I'm just really excited to go to are the Dirt Late Model Dream and the World 100. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a late model
Can't
guy.
really beat
Those are the top two, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the ones you want to be at.
Mhm.
Speaking of where you want to be, obviously you mentioned the goal for 2025, really work on those skills as a pit reporter. But do you have long-term goals to become a play-by-play guy? Like,
Oh yeah.
I imagine that's kind of always the goal, no matter where you enter the world of racing. I got lucky that I was able to jump right into play-by-play.
Mhm.
So I don't have as much experience as a pit reporter, but I can say that the play-by-play stuff is pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I love doing play by play. That's like my bread and butter. I feel like I'm a better play by play guy than I am pit reporter, just because when you work at the local level and then the regional level and stuff, like we usually don't have a pit reporter. So
Mhm.
like I spent really up until this year, all I did was booth stuff until late 2024. Um, so yeah, that's definitely a goal to be a full time play by play guy, which I still do play by play. Do it for the Southern Thunder Super Dirt Series, and then I've done a couple other like one-off events for Hunt the Front TV this year, doing play-by-play. So, I definitely would one of these days like to be full-time in the booth again. Um, I'd love that more than anything, whether it's with the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series or down the road somewhere else. I don't know, but yeah, definitely want to get full-time in the booth. That is so much fun, like you said. Like just nothing beats calling the action.
No, it really is like the most fun thing.
Mhm.
I want to just jump off that though. You have this goal of being a good pit reporter. What is a good pit reporter to you? For anybody who's listening, that's either maybe just starting their pit reporter career or maybe just getting opportunities now. What in your mind makes for a good pit reporter?
Um, you have to like in a way look at it as being a journalist, because you're always the one interviewing people, so you gotta have good questions lined up. You gotta know what you're talking about and who you're talking to. But you also have to have a really good knowledge of the race car itself, because you're in the hot pit. While they're changing tires, while they're making adjustments or something, you're right there in the action, and you got to talk about it. You're on the hot seat. So definitely look at it as going in as like a journalist, and just have a big knowledge for the sport, for your drivers, and for the cars themselves.
So, being guys that are from the north, we're in Canada, was
Hmm.
almost as far north for you, I
Yeah.
guess, as you can get. But um, what is the feeling around Hunt the Front and this series? Because from my perspective, it seems like the Hunt the Front Super Series is probably the top regional super late model series right now. They're paying out big money for the
Mhm.
points championship. They're having big paying events. They got a fairly decent sized schedule. Like, what is the feeling around the series and the drivers? And just give us a little perspective on that.
Hmm. For me personally, like working for the series, it feels pretty surreal. Because there's guys that are running our series, or guys that aren't even series regulars, but come out and race with us, that are guys that I've been watching since I was a little kid and like idolized as a little kid. Like Dale
Mhm.
McDowell won the other night. That
Yeah.
was a guy that when I was a little kid, he's one of the first guys I remember watching. So like that was really cool. And um, the fact that I get to work and get to know a lot of these guys on a personal level and work alongside them is very surreal. So on my part, that's what it is to me. But I've used the series, and I said this before I even started working for them, that the Hunt the Front Super Dirt series I think is bigger than a regional series, but it's not quite a national series.
Hmm.
I don't think you can at a regional level. I don't think you can get any bigger than the Hunt the Front Super Dirt series. And honestly, on a series wise in dirt late model racing, I don't think you can get any bigger than the Hunt the Front Super Dirt series unless you're going to run Outlaws or Lucas.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's fair, and that sounds like the kind of series that we're gonna need more and more
Mhm.
of as it seems like dirt racing continues to grow. It seems like
Yeah.
we're on an upswing. Car counts appear to be up for the most part at most facilities, most tours. Um, I want to know if you consider Hunt the Front as a good kind of training ground with, obviously Lucas Oil and the World of Outlaws late models that,
Mhm.
kind of have the main attention when it comes to late model racing in North America. Do you feel like Hunt the Front can be kind of a good almost feeder series or a good training ground for somebody who wants to develop their program a little bit before they go and take on that national tour.
Oh, absolutely. Our series director, Joshua Joyner, has said himself he would love nothing more than to see the guys on the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series go on to run, whether it's World of Outlaws or Lucas Oil, or even just run a pick and choose schedule, but at the national level
Mhm.
and have success. Look at our champion a year ago, Brandon Overton. I mean, he did a lot of stuff before he was a Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series regular, before the Hunt the Front Series was even a thing.
Mhm.
But you look at a guy like that, he won the series championship just a year ago, and now he's in the Longhorn Factory Team ride and running fourth in the Lucas Oil point standings, and right now in position to contend for a championship in October. You see guys like that. You see Ashton Winger; he's back to running with the World of Outlaws full time. So I think, yeah, it is a really good stepping stone in a way for these guys. But then it's also, I think, a good place for a guy that maybe doesn't want to quit touring, but wants to tone it down a little bit. Like a guy
Yeah.
that comes to mind for me is Jimmy Owens.
Mhm.
Jimmy Owens is a series regular for us this year, and he's a 4-time Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series champion. He's won Crown Jewels. He's done damn near anything you can do in the sport. Like, he really doesn't have much to prove at this point. And this year it was between World of Outlaws and us for him this year, and it was at where I-75 we were talking, and he just said to me, he was like, just, you guys stuck out to me this year because he was saying, and I quote, I don't really want to run a full-blown national tour anymore. I'm over it. I've done it for 20 years now. Like, I've
Mhm.
had enough, and your guys' schedule really fits what I want. Like, there's enough races that it makes it worth your while, but it's not nearly as demanding as a Lucas Oil or a World of Outlaws schedule is. And all the races, like, he's closer to home than he would be with Outlaws or Lucas, because Outlaws and Lucas, really, other than speed weeks, don't make too many trips to the south, where
Yeah.
every race for the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series is in the southeast.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that is a perfect way to explain it. That it is that stepping stone between going from your weekend warrior guy to your, well, maybe we're thinking about doing national stuff, do that for a little bit, and then taking that final step and joining a national tour. Um, I got a question about, you take the average race fan. What's something or a storyline or just something that the Hunt the Front Subaru Series is doing that they should be paying attention to?
The payouts, the schedule, the fields that we have. We just went to Talladega Short Track a week ago. We had 50 cars on night one, and we had 54 cars on night two.
Wow.
And paying 8,000 to win on a prelim night and 12,000 to win the next night. I mean, I think that's what really separates us from the rest of the regional series out there. And no shade to any of the other regional series out there. I think there are plenty of good regional series throughout the country. One of those is the ULMS series from up north that I used to work for. I think Trevor Zuber is running a great deal there throughout the Pennsylvania, New York, and Ohio area, even into like West Virginia now. The Mars series, they're in the Midwest. I think they have a great series. But I think what sets us apart is maybe not every night we'll have an absolute stacked field like we did at Wynot and at Talladega, but we're always going to get at least a couple guys that when you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and you see that guy's coming, it's going to spike your interest.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up about the fact that you got this giant, not giant pay increase, but you've got these purses that are another sign of the health of the sport, and the fact that there are advertisers, there are companies that want to get involved. What's your pitch maybe for a company that's not involved yet, but what can a series like Hunt the Front do for a brand that maybe doesn't know where to put their valuable sponsorship dollars at this point? Because we know the way things are shrinking down, it's just going to get tighter and more important that we have people contributing to these purses and contributing to their nights with their businesses.
Mm-hmm. I think a big pitch is the audience around this. Even we have a very good amount of subscribers and viewers on Hunt the Front TV, but even if you're not watching on Hunt the Front TV, we have the free live look-ins, we have highlights that are good at putting out there. So your company, if you're wanting to get involved, you're getting put onto a big platform. a very big platform with Hunt the Front TV and the series itself. And once again, I talk about the money that also adds prestige. Like money is what not just makes the sport go around, but what makes the world go around.
Yep.
You know, like we have races that are 20,000 to win. I just mentioned last weekend with the 8 and the 12, a $50,000 championship fund, like going $50,000 check going to the series champion at the end of the year. Like that speaks, money talks. And when you, as a business owner, I am not, so I can't 100% speak their advantage point. But like when you look at that, I think you see something like that, and it's like, okay, like that looks like something I'd want to be involved in.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to put you on the spot, and I don't know if you want to answer this or not. I don't know if maybe you think it might jinx this person, but I want to know your prediction for the champion of the series this year, and B, give me who you think is going to be maybe the rookie of the year.
Okay. Rookie of the year, I'm gonna go with Oakley Johns. He's the point leader as we sit right now, and he's not showing any signs of slowing down. He's been, I don't want to say hot right out the gate. Like he hasn't been doing anything to write home about, but he's been consistent. He's been there. He's not getting these big flashy finishes, but he's having really good points nights. Right now, he has got a good margin in the Rookie of the Year points battle. And then my champion, I'm going to Zach Mitchell. I think Zach Mitchell in the Coleman Farms 57. I think and I said this even before Jimmy Owens and Ricky Weiss joined, which those two guys are game changers, especially Ricky Weiss. He picked up her season opener at I-75 and it's been tough. He had a rough weekend at Talladega, which kind of hurt him a little bit in points, but it's pretty hard to go off points this early in the season after only a couple races. Like there is a lot of racing to go. But just even with those guys coming in, that doesn't really change it. I really think that this is the year that Zach Mitchell goes from a guy that people looked at as, yeah, he's a good regional talent, to a guy they look at him and they say, I think he could go run at the national level. And, last year he was running his family owned stuff until the later parts of the summer. That was when him and Coltman Farms Racing partnered up. And I think this year, with having a full year together in that Coltman Farms Longhorn car, I think that's really going to help him. And I think sky's the limit for this year with him on the series. So I think he's our champion. But I do think guys like Ricky Weiss, guys like Sam Seawright, guys like Jimmy Owens, possibly even guys like Dalton Cook and Joseph Joyner could give Zach a run for his money. That's one thing that I really do take pride in with the series, and we've talked about on the Hunt the Front podcast. With Outlaws and Lucas, it's about 3 or 4 guys that you look at and say that could be a champion. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's great talent all through the field with those guys.
Yeah.
But there's only 3 or 4 that you say that guy is championship caliber. On the Lucas side, it's RTJ, JD, and Devin Moran.
Yeah.
I think other than that, you're racing for 4th, you know? Yeah. And then with Outlaws, that 32 is pretty damn hard to beat, but there's good competition there too. But that 32 is very, very tough. Yeah. With our series, I feel like as we sit right now with the point standings leaving Talladega, I think 8 of the 10 drivers in the top 10, like I would not be surprised to be the series champion at the end of the year. But I'm going to stick with my pick from back in like December of Zach Mitchell.
Nice. I like that. One more from me here. Now I want to really give you the opportunity to shine in terms of selling the series and where everyone can watch. How's the best place to keep up with yourself and all the different series that you find yourself involved with Hunt the Front?
Well, if you want to tune in, pretty much every race I'll work all year is live on Hunt the Front TV with the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series, and then brand new this year in 2025, the Southern Thunder Super Dirt Series, which I'd like to give a little plug to them. They deserve it. Travis Scott and Kelly Carlton came together this year, formed this new series, and has been partnered with Hunt the Front TV, and that's Zach Mitchell is leading the point standings in that series as well. But the next event for them, April 19th at Southern Raceway in Milton, Florida. So you can catch every lap of the Southern Thunder Super Dirt Series as well on Hunt the Front TV. And that's some new blood in the South, which I think was much needed. I think you needed more than just what has been in the South. You needed a fresh start there, and the Southern Thunder Super Dirt Series is that. They've been great, and I've been lucky enough that Travis has had enough trust to make me his series announcer, the first ever series announcer for the Southern Thunder Series, and it's been a lot of fun. I love doing those races. I think we've had some good car counts, some good fields. Went to Lancaster a couple weeks ago. We only had like 14 or 15 cars, which isn't great, but it was a good 14 or 15 cars. You know, we had national talent there. We had guys like Drake Troutman, Zach Mitchell, Ben Watkins, Ross Bales, some tough guys on the national level and the regional level. So you can catch all that on Hunt the Front TV. And if you want to keep track on the socials, Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series on Facebook, Instagram. And then same with the Southern Thunder Super Dirt Series. And then there's also, you know, you can watch highlights and race recaps and a whole bunch of stuff on the Hunt the Front TV social media platforms. And yeah.
Awesome.
So we always like to end with the last question that has nothing to do with racing. So what is your interest outside of all this? You know, obviously I've seen on your Instagram you're a big baseball guy. Is that obviously heavy into baseball, but is there anything else you like to do other than racing?
I used to be a big baseball guy. I still follow baseball, but the cleats are hung up. Sadly, we're that part of my life is done over with after high school. There's kind of a long story into that get into another time. But yeah, I just had some things come up that ended my baseball career short. But no, outside of that, love to golf, big time golfer, hunt, you know, hunt, fish, pretty much basic guy stuff, you know, hang out. But it's really tough, especially nowadays, to get that free time outside of racing, like especially since I've started here and moved down to Florida. I mean, racing's always been my life, but now it's stepped up to that next level because now it's paying my bills. This is a job now.
Yeah.
So really racing has been all I've been doing all of 2025. But if I get time off, yeah, I love to golf, love to hunt, love to fish, all that stuff.
Awesome.
So you're gonna find some time this weekend and we'll take in some Masters action or what?
Oh yeah. I'll be watching the Masters for sure.
Nice. I think we'll all be dialed into that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it was another great episode brought to you by our sponsors, Dig Race Products and Inland Rigging. Hunter, thanks for coming on, buddy. It was awesome talking Hunt the Front late models with you, and we wish you nothing but success in 2025.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all having me on. You guys run an awesome deal here. I'm always entertained with the podcast and with the posts on social media. It gives like an Almost Friday vibe, and that's what I love about it. It's like the racing version of Almost Friday, and I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys, you know, keep up the good work. I love it, and thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.